Who do you think is the primary victim of war, men or women?
Okay. I want to clarify, just like every single time I've clarified, I've never said one is worse than the other. They are.
Just
people who
taking
died.
what Donna donated $200. Female privilege is real. If women do not want someone in their life, they can abort them or ignore them and act if they don't exist and no one bats an eye. Women can be late or not show up at all.
It's true, bro. It's true. Dude, thank you for the big 200 TTS, man. Thank you so much for your patronage. Female privilege is real. Oh, wow. Okay, he's getting into the pro-life versus pro-choice. Well, you're quite opinionated on that. We'll get it here. I'll write that down. We'll get into that. We'll get into that later on. All right. Thank you, man. Really appreciate your patronage. Okay, so going around the table.
Like I've said, everyone's a victim of war. Everyone is. So like.
Wait, hold on. Let me restate the question.
That was always my position.
Let me just restate the question. Who is the primary victim of war, men or women?
Yeah, you love restating that question. Yeah, women. I'll still stand by that.
You are not saying that.
I'm still standing by it, and I'm not changing.
Here, let's go around the table. We'll get everybody's answers, but.
I mean, yeah, I would say men because they're in the front lines. They have to fight.
What do you mean by war?
Stop.
Like, that's not to say that women don't suffer either.
Contain yourself, please.
Women suffer.
Let her answer the question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Women suffer from war as well, but obviously.
But the question.
But men, they're in the front lines, of course.
I'm so sorry to my queen JoJo. You're such my woke queen, but I think men are the primary victims of war.
Okay, so by war, do you mean like going to battle, or like war as in like challenges in relationships?
World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, Ukraine War, the current Israel-Palestine conflict, war.
I would say men.
Okay.
So primary first, men.
Okay.
Men.
Obviously men.
Men.
JoJo, what are you doing? We already went over this.
I actually did a lot of research after the fact.
That, by the way.
She didn't watch your movies.
Did you watch the show?
She didn't watch the movies.
No, I started the movies, but they were three hours.
I told you you have to watch All Quiet on the Western Front
and Saving Private Ryan.
I
started Saving Private Ryan.
It's good.
It was 3 hours, and I started at 11 p.m. So I was like, this ain't the journey for me.
Okay, but how much of it? Because that first scene, that first scene is brutal.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was brutal.
Nick, can you pull up? Hold on. It's in the Dropbox podcast. Hold on, I'm trying to find it.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh, okay, here it is. Dropbox podcast war Into the Jaws of Death picture. Can you find that one? Yeah.
But I don't think men aren't the victims either. So that was my whole
primary.
Primary.
You know what that word means?
So who's? Yeah, you can pull it up. So this is, this isn't from the film Saving Private Ryan, but it reenacted the D-Day landing. So, do you see any women in this picture? Any women?
I don't want to assume their gender.
I don't want to assume.
Do you think there's any women in this historical
we can't
photograph?
tell.
Can you zoom in? I'm just kidding.
No, I don't think there's any women.
Oh. Yeah, okay. So, the first scene of Saving Private Ryan, nothing?
But is it because...
So while the women are just back home, Rosie the Riveter, just like making shells and like doing construction, and the men are, getting mowed down.
Okay.
D-Day landing.
Okay.
Women still the primary victims of war?
It wasn't about the women.
What do I have on my hands with this panel? Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
It wasn't about the women who, I was talking about the women who are also suffering, the ones that are getting, the countries that are getting invaded.
Let's be careful on that topic.
So what's your point?
Yeah, that's still, though, as far as the numbers go, it's such a small percentage of the actual victims.
Yeah, but men die, and then women have to live with the suffering.
Yeah,
so
but who's the primary victim?
The
person who died or the widow?
I want to ask you on that. So what's worse?
Yeah.
What's worse?
Death, obviously.
Right, so that would be the primary victim.
So, but
right?
that is more of a interesting argument more about who's the victim? Is it the people who have to live with the pain and have to live on even with the pain, or is it the people who died? Because you don't have the pain anymore once you're gone, obviously. But again, that's a different kind of debate, and I'm not like trying to justify either side of that, but that's just I got DMs about it too, where I'm
sure you did.
I mean, what is the worst thing that can happen to a victim? They're killed, right? That's the worst thing. There are lots of ways to victimize somebody, but like ultimately, that's what gets somebody in trouble.
Like a parent seeing your kids die, I think is also.
But for the kid itself, like the kid was the primary victim there, right? Obviously, like if your kid passes, like that sucks, and you're gonna suffer from that. But who was the primary victim? The passing child or like the parent?
Yeah.
So in war, like when the majority of the casualties and the injuries are men.
Beaten Cheeks donated $100. When the next war happens, and it will, you feminists will have your ideology completely destroyed, get back in the kitchen, finally be feminine, and the patriarchy will thrive once again. Entitled 304s.
You do not want me in the kitchen. I cannot cook.
That's a red flag.
That's just what it is. I'm a terrible cook.
I think the amount of harm that we can measure is all based on like what you're saying is the most harmful thing someone can go through. And do you agree that being killed is the worst thing a person can go through? Yes or no?
I mean, it's a controversial opinion, but no, I don't think.
You don't think being killed is the worst thing that can happen to you?
So if he had asked the question, who's the primary casualty of war, would you say men?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just the way you're defining what a victim is.
Yeah.
So do you think that it's harder for, let's say that you're not even killed in war, but like, do you think it's harder for, if I'm married, my wife to be like lonely without me versus me like in trenches?
What about your opinion on what's happening with your wife? Let's say the country was invaded and a lot of terrible things are happening. Right?
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that like that obviously happens and it's part of the statistics, but it's a very huge minority of the total casualties and victims. It's not that huge. Well,
because again, this is like the East Asian focused was like it happened in tons of those countries. It happened in the Philippines. It happened in Korea. It happened in China. It happened in like.
But in the majority of wars.
What?
In the majority of wars.
Yeah, it happens in the majority of wars.
Not at the rate though. As the casualties happen,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were just insane when you said that. I didn't understand. I was like blown away that you could say that. But I mean, I get what you're trying. I get what you're saying. But I mean, I think that the default. She's saying that if you had asked her who's the primary casualty of war, she would say it's clearly men. But she defines victim as something different. Like death is not the worst thing that can happen to a victim.
Yeah, it is.
I agree. I think that's the worst. That's why it's punished the worst.
But if I had to choose between, I don't want to get into it because I think it is TOS.
Yeah, hold on.
Beaten Cheeks donated $100. As someone who has been in real war, real combat, you feminists are in no position to speak about any type of wars or any international conflicts. Just learn to cook, serve your man, and stop feminism.
I'm not. I know how to cook.
Okay. So your position is basically SA is worse than being killed. Is that your position?
It depends on the extent. But yeah, depends on the extent. That's why I don't want to get into it.
Right, but you're saying the women that are left alone, that are widowed, like the other, like all of that leaves victims behind.
What do you mean?
Like the women whose husbands go off to war and die, she becomes a victim of that war. That's what you're saying,
right?
I
think
I don't disagree with you. I just think that the severity of the victimhood would lie with the soldier who died.
Well, I'm saying everyone's a victim. That was always my stance, always my point. Everyone's a victim.
That's not the question, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not the question. That's fine.
Like, okay, for example, I want to try to frame this in as delicate a manner as possible. So, let's say there's a tragedy, a major tragedy, and I saw it on the news, and that that was really upsetting to me to see that on the news. But it was geographically, I was very far removed from it. I didn't know anybody involved in the tragedy. Now, it was upsetting to me to see that. Compared to the person, let's say people died in this tragedy, right? Who's the bigger victim?
Yeah, of course, the people who died, yeah.
Okay, so by that same logic, wouldn't the person who dies be the bigger victim than the family member?
But you gave an example where they were removed. They weren't even involved in the situation. They didn't have family in the situation. That was your example, that they just witnessed that this happened, right?
Yeah.
But then now you're taking it back to the family and being like, oh, isn't it worse for like the people who died rather than the families?
I have a question for you. Let's say that all soldiers were women.
Okay.
Would that change your answer if it was women who were just getting killed?
The same things that I went through were happening to the men, and then like if it was completely rule swapped with every single aspect, I would probably still say the same answer.
Does it change it at all? Like if women were soldiers and they were the ones getting killed en masse, and the men were just kicking it, just chilling.
You keep saying kicking like they were just like they're
It's
just
true.
chilling at home.
Yo,
like,
Nick, pull up. It's in the war folder. Ukraine men
The
versus women blurred.
Bronexons donated $100. I don't want to live on this planet
I'll send
anymore. Give me the
It's
asteroid,
coming,
Daddy
bro.
Brian.
So does it change anything if it's all women? Does that change anything at all?
no, like I said before, it doesn't change what.
So let me
was
ask you the
happening.
question one more time. Who are the primary victims of war, men or women?
Women.
No. I was really rooting for you.
Dun, dun.
Oh, yeah. Wait, so you were making, let's talk, what about the Ukraine war?
Okay.
Who are the primary victims of the Ukraine war, men or women?
I don't know anything about the Ukraine
Wait,
war. I don't.
Really, the most recent war? Like,
Well, I don't. Yeah, I don't.
you don't know anything about it?
I mean,
you remember all the
surface level.
flags? There were the flags.
Yeah, for surface level stuff, I
the
don't.
blue
like,
and yellow flag. You don't
I haven't
know any-
extensively researched it, and I'm not embarrassed to say that.
You know
and it's
where,
just-
but you're familiar that there is a war going
Yes.
on in Ukraine.
That's why I said surface
with
level.
Russia.
Yep.
Okay.
I know the president's strange as well. I know.
Okay. So, but you can't make a determination based off of the things that you do know. So, in the Ukraine war currently,
Right.
this current conflict. Hold on.
I'm so glad I'm not dating donated $100. There's a bump in the night. You are with your man. There's an AR-15 equal distance from both of you. There's 4 armed intruders actively breaking in. Who do you prefer goes on the defensive?
Why does it matter with the gun, right?
Just we can answer this question.
Context.
It's kind of I don't know if it's the best framing of this question, but who do you prefer goes on the defensive?
Whoever's better with the gun, I guess, right?
Okay.
I'm from Canada. We don't have guns, so I mean, whoever's better.
I'd prefer my husband does it.
Sorry, I was zoning out a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
A strong man with a weapon.
My man's.
Whichever one's better with the gun.
Matthew, anything on this?
My husband, for sure.
Your husband? Okay, there you go. There you go. Okay, so hide that. Okay, so JoJo,
Yes.
in this current conflict in the Ukraine war, who is the primary? Oh, hold on, let me reframe it. Who is the primary victim of the Ukraine war, men or women?
Again, I don't know the context, but I guess if I'm standing on the same point I've been saying, I guess women.